Hi, welcome back to Tao of Twang. I'm Dave. So we've got a kind of a laid back strummer here in E minor. Okay, it's just got a real easy groove. You know, it's not an intricate kind of rhythmic thing. Kind of an Americana type of sound, of singer songwriter sound maybe. And just gonna go over some, you know, concise ideas of how to improvise over this using the E natural minor scale and the E minor pentatonic scale. Okay. If you're not as familiar with either one of those, I'm going to look at them. I'm going to put up a diagram for the E natural minor. In this position, okay. So we'll do that here in just a second. I'm going to show you the chords. I played them in the second half of that intro. I didn't play an elaborate solo over the intro, right? Not an extended improvisation. So really want to kind of keep you, nail down these few areas and ideas, and then you do your thing and see how much you can elaborate with all of this. So let's go through the chords and then we'll take a look at these couple of scales and we'll have some fun. Let's put this on. It's going to pop up kind of randomly, so let's listen. Now, it's not just a two chord or, the loop this time, so it does have a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is kind of in the middle of it. Okay, so here's the top of it. It's E minor and then G, D. And then just hold that E minor. Then up to A minor. C, D, finishes it off with a round of that E minor then. Okay, so let's leave this on and let's warm up on this E natural minor, okay? Boy, you just hit some, I'm just kind of wandering around. I'm hitting some decent chord tones, So the only other scale that I used in the demo was E minor pentatonic. And it could have been in this position as well. Okay, I think I went down here once. I'm a blues scale type of shape down there, right? So just relax on this one. This one's just fun. It's really laid back. If you're not familiar with that first kind of example that I did for the E natural minor, um, I'm going to put this diagram up just for this part of it because this position is so useful for this key. It's just you got to have it. Okay. So see the red dots on there are the roots of the E minor, right? Natural scale. So I'm just going above that and below it just as far as I can go and still play the notes in that bucket, in that sequence, um, and be in this position. And notice how this first finger is always on that seventh fret. That's very handy, right? And you can just do a lot right in there. And the same thing sort of occurs for the minor pentatonic if you move it up to this shape one. Right? Is you get a position where you've got, um, one finger that's all lined up. Now, when you go to play the whole scale, the natural minor, I mean, you got. So if you kind of marry this position to this one, I think you'll and a little bit in between there, which I'm going to show you here in just a couple minutes. You'll have a nice little system right there, right? So just you know, warm up with those scales like we did earlier, and really try to get to the point where you can sort of like, you're still paying attention to it, but not to the degree that that it's interfering with your musical choices, really, right? And by musical choices, I just mean other things, embellishments, letting notes hold, slowing down, and just really experiencing the sound and the feeling of different notes. If you want to stop and analyze, oh, that one sounds really good, might be a chord tone or something, and investigate it. That's great. Um, but once you get a little bit of a vibe going, build on that. Trust it. It's more of a creative dimension than just kind of like, oh, I've got to stop and like figure out what notes I'm on. That, that's good work, but you don't always have to do that. If it sounds good, keep going. And so let's put this track on, and having looked at that scale, see now, hit some nice notes in there. And here's part of how this is set up. I'll just kind of show you a little bit behind the curtain here. If you follow this program in this position over this progression, what you're doing is you're going to your win percentage of good chord tones and stuff is kind of like skyrocket. Okay. Um, whether you know that you're on specific ones or not. And part of that's because that E minor, you've got a there's a little E minor triad. When you take that pinky off of here, or whatever finger you're using, but if you make that shape, that kind of C-shaped G, right? Then you kind of abbreviate that. You get it's just almost, it's just right there. And then the D. Okay. So over this piece, I'm not trying to chase down the G and the D and triad tones for every one of those because it just doesn't need it. It's a more open sound than that. You stick to this scale and these positions I'm showing you, you're going to hit them, right? And there's going to be a lot of good stuff in there without having to be too tedious about it. And so that's what I recommend on this. If you jump down every once in a while and just kind of play the chords, that's cool too. But you don't have to analyze every one of those. but it does make sense to look quickly at the E minor triad, right? So we've got a right, we've got E, the root, and then we've got G, the third, and B, the fifth. So, and one thing you can do right away is just kind of licks that are repetitive, melodically speaking, and perhaps rhythmically as well, but that end on different chord tones, right? And this is going to work out over like this whole progression. So let's say I went. See? You almost can't find, if you're in that scale, that every note that you choose will have some nice relationship to any of those chords. Now, when I go to the A minor, I might get a little more specific and, look for then back to that pentatonic. The B that time. Okay, now that after the A minor, that C and the D get held a little bit longer, right? I was kind of out of time there. But so there you have a little bit more time you might zone in on. I went to the right. But remember earlier, this business. So that C. I think that if you just really relax, don't try to go too fast, and let the notes really, really soak in the feeling and sound of each one of the different notes, and you're just going to start selecting them, and you'll kind of get to on that autopilot after a while in your hand with the scale pattern, right? That's certainly an important part of this method, right? You want to practice those sequences that I'm showing you, and not just up and down, but like reverse order of them, I didn't do a pattern there. I just let myself go down, walk back up, go back down, and if you do that until your hand kind of memorizes it, then this other business of the nicer tones kind of pulling you in will start happening more easily. Be patient with you; it'll happen. And I'll probably do a part 2 on this using this backing track because I just really like it, and I'll put in some more pentatonic stuff and maybe a little bit more kind of rockier blues type bends and stuff in it. Really work out on those 2 scales and just get used to that system. Let me know how it goes. Be looking for a part 2 in a couple days. Take care.